Begin with the General Secretary's report. She's going to share some things. That's going to be followed by the Executive Director of World Missions and then followed by the Executive Director of U.S. Missions reports. And so, Madam Secretary, I'll have you come to the podium, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, friends. I'd like to use my minutes with you today to spotlight what has been happening out of the General Secretary's office since the last time we were together in the General Council 2023 in Columbus, Ohio, sharing what I think is most important for you to know and of most interest and information you deserve to hear. I am sad and concerned from all of us for the victims who have suffered due to the sexual misconduct engaged in another situation regarding Chi Alpha. Due to the sexual misconduct of Daniel Savala, several people were harmed. For every victim who has suffered, we are sorry. We are sorry that they have suffered, and we know that Savala engaged in sexual misconduct with male college students who attended Chi Alpha chapters and sexually abused up to 4 minors, likely over the course of a decade, by gaining access to some of his victims through individuals who also attended or served in local Chi Alpha chapters in Texas. Whenever this kind of conduct reaches the consciousness of those in the church and involves any aspect of the church, it rightfully elicits anger and anguish. It hurts the church's witness, and it can bring great harm to those who are victimized. This situation is tragic, and our hearts are broken for those who have been hurt and for the families impacted as a result. While these allegations may be new to some of you, they first surfaced to the General Council in the spring of 2023. 2 years ago, when we were moving into General Council, the authorities, the General Council, and 2 districts in Texas were still completing their reviews, and the districts had not made recommendations as to any discipline of those people who had credentials. I can share with you that the General Council completed a thorough and objective investigation by an outside law firm with experience in these type of matters to determine if General Council officials acted responsibly and appropriately. The review at the national level focused on what knowledge national officials had, when they had it, and what they did with that knowledge. The attorney had unfettered access to witnesses, emails, documents, law enforcement, and set up an email for reports to be sent directly to him to remain confidential. The attorney interviewed dozens of witnesses, including victims who agreed to participate. The review was not directed by the General Council. The findings of this investigation were presented to the Executive Presbytery in full. The Executive Presbytery is the body who oversees the business of the General Council and has a fiduciary duty as a board of directors would. The North Texas and South Texas districts also investigated what occurred and recommended the dismissal of ministry credentials of those involved. The General Council followed those recommendations. Now, as a voluntary cooperative fellowship, the districts and churches in Texas are separate entities. The General Council has influence in the areas of doctrine, the credentialing of ministers, and the chartering of churches. The National Chi Alpha Office is a part of the General Council and provides resources to local chapters. But the General Council has no legal authority over attendees of local churches and ministries or the policies and procedures they have in place. It did not provide day-to-day supervision of Chi Alpha ministries. Again, though Daniel Savala has had ties to some affiliated ministries and churches, he never held credentials with the Assemblies of God or the General Council. He never served on staff of Chi Alpha, and the General Council never endorsed him, his teachings, or his activities. Indeed, it does not appear that the General Counsel even knew who he was until 2018. Savala had long-standing friendships with a handful of local Chi Alpha leaders in Texas who were credentialed ministers. And it appears one of those ministers, Eli Stewart, helped Daniel Savala gain access to young men and to conceal his crimes and his 2012 Alaska conviction. He also convinced some in Chi Alpha that Savala was innocent of those charges. The Alaska conviction, which caused Savala to be classified as a registered sex offender, was based on an incident that had nothing to do with the Assemblies of God. While Eli Stewart later claimed to have also been deceived, Stewart's influence was undeniably critical in Savala's ability to engage in sexual misconduct and child abuse. In 2018, the National Chi Alpha and General Counsel leadership received an email about Savala. The email focused on Savala's presence at Easter services at the church Eli Stewart pastored and his presumed presence around college students as a registered sex offender. This report did not allege ongoing sexual abuse in Chi Alpha. In response, the national office notified the district officials and district director of the North and South Texas districts so they could take appropriate steps to warn that Savala not attend Chi Alpha chapter events. But Eli Stewart was both a local chapter leader and the North Texas Chi Alpha director. This position allowed him to continue shielding Savala's involvement, even after being urged by the national office not to have students in contact with Savala. Again, the General Counsel is unaware of any evidence that the national office had information that any sexual misconduct was occurring in Chi Alpha until 2023. The investigation showed that the national office believed students had been warned to stay away from Savala. In 2010, the national office received another email with a picture of Savala beside several Texas Chi Alpha leaders, but not students, while in Colorado. About 2 years later, when the National Chi Alpha office became aware that Savala was spending time around one particular Chi Alpha group, the national office strongly urged local leaders to ensure Savala not be near Chi Alpha students. But Stewart did not disclose, nor did the national office know, the extent to which Stewart had been using Savala at his own church and Chi Alpha group. And the national office still had no knowledge that Savala had been engaging in sexual misconduct. In the spring of 2023, a website reported that Savala, a registered sex offender, had sexual contact with college students who attended Chi Alpha groups. Based on the review, this was the first time the General Counsel was informed of specific abuse allegations involving Chi Alpha. It became known that Savala had engaged in sexual misconduct with college students and as many as 4 minors. 2 of these minors were taken to Savala with their father, who also participated in the abuse and was a credentialed minister. He is being criminally prosecuted as well. According to our longstanding process, these actions were promptly reported to local law enforcement. National and district investigations commenced immediately. The North and South Texas districts then made recommendations to the General Counsel related to the credentials of the involved ministers. The General Counsel followed those recommendations. The Credentials Committee approved 6 dismissals recommended by the districts. That's the most severe form of discipline available under AG polity. Another minister's credential was not renewed, and 4 credential ministers were placed in a restoration program with their credentials suspended. 2 lawsuits were filed. 1 has been settled, the other is pending. Discovery is ongoing in the litigation, which limits the extent of information that can be provided in this setting. As I mentioned, the attorney who conducted the investigation personally shared the conclusions of the General Council review with the Executive Presbytery, the body charged with the direct oversight of the General Council and the body who has fiduciary responsibilities to it. And we have explained the results of that review at a much higher level here. Information in the investigation includes victims' identities and personal details, and it isn't appropriate to release more information more broadly. There is no perfect solution, but public disclosure of the entire investigation deters individuals from reporting allegations of misconduct or participating as witnesses for fear that their information will be disseminated broadly with no guardrails. While the General Counsel has never limited any victim's ability to share their story, we have a responsibility to ensure that it remains their option for their story to be shared and our duty to safeguard their confidentiality. Consistent with what has already been shared with the Executive Presbytery, General Presbytery, and now the General Council, the National Office continues to look for ways to support and strengthen those served in Chi Alpha chapters and to encourage policies and training that will minimize the opportunity for these kind of misconducts to occur in the future. Discussions are ongoing related to the structure of Chi Alpha. Some of the changes made will be reviewed by Dr. Choco de Jesus in his report in just a little bit. Those recommendations include eliminating the role. These changes that have been made include eliminating the role overlap that allowed Stewart to serve as the district lead and chapter lead both at the same time, and reinforcing the need and offering the comprehensive abuse training, ongoing education for local leaders, and urging the implementation of performance reviews and exit interviews, a refined process for reporting misconduct, pastoral support access, and more clarity in roles. We understand the districts are also making changes to policies and procedures regarding their Chi Alpha program. There are no words that can capture the sorrow we feel for those targeted and impacted by this. We are grateful that with nearly 250 chapters and broad children's ministry programs that such instances are not prevalent in this fellowship, and that is in large part due to the ongoing training and resources provided that relate to child protection policies and this body's vigilance in this area. This work is ongoing and is some of the most important work that can be done in the local church and ministries. So would you please pray for this work as it continues? And would you please pray for the victims who have been harmed by Savala's vile acts? The General Council continues to update the Executive Presbytery on developments during their regularly scheduled meetings and will continue to do so. I want to talk to you about communication. The flow of communication from the National Office is based on several factors that leadership is responsible to steward. It can be challenging in a world of digital communication, Facebook, digital petitions, and groups hosting podcasts with partial or inaccurate information for our church, our family, to understand why the national leaders are intentional in what, when, and where they communicate. Keep in mind that this week will be the first time the General Council has been together in a business session since the 2023 General Council. Thankfully, this body has elected executive presbyters who meet 6 times annually. When an investigation is pending, for us to comment before we know the facts would result in chaos and a different comment after learning more. Then there is personal confidentiality that must be protected, whether it is that of a complainant or a witness or a minister being investigated and disciplined. When the need arises for someone's credentials to be off-boarded, there are several factors that go into how that is handled and who is able to know what. AGWM has communicated extensively inside their missionary family. That may not satisfy websites, Facebook conversations, or external reports, but they are not our audience. Regarding communication, there is a cascading sequence of communication that must be followed, and our general superintendent takes that responsibility seriously, even if others do not understand it or would like more information at times. Even if misrepresented in public forums, we are deeply committed to follow this principle. What did you know? When did you know it? And what did you do with the information you knew? I can assure you, over the last 2 years, I've had a front row seat to watch, and our General Superintendent, Doug Clay, and our team has worked diligently to steward communication with leadership excellence in very delicate situations. There are a few additional items in my office that might be of interest to you. As recently as Monday and Tuesday of this last week, the General Presbytery in their meetings approved the document entitled Disciplinary Guidelines for Misuse of Spiritual Authority. We continue to take steps to make our church, our family, a safe environment. Also, coming out of the General Presbytery meeting, 5 position papers were approved. One of those papers is entitled Misuse of Spiritual Leadership. Now, you'll be able to access that on the ag.org website in the days to come. Yes, our office does keep minutes, count things, sign things in general. We steward the credentials of over 38,000 ministers across the nation and around the world. We charter churches, more than 13,000. And we do those tasks through our 66 districts, which means providing resources, continuous training, and fielding a myriad of phone calls. But you are our boots on the ground, our voice to called men and women to consider Assembly of God credentials. Now you can direct them to a website entitled www.iwanttobeanagminister.com, where regional credential specialists are on standby for a first inquiry to connect them immediately with entry questions and then connect them to the right district. Most of our districts are now onboarded so that a credential applicant can use DocuSign and apply digitally to credentials or upgrade from certified to licensed or from licensed to ordained. Lastly, because we deeply care for all of our ministers and the people they serve, and we know that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of discipline and restoration, therefore, the back of every credential card guides the minister to resources such as a free subscription to Right Now Media, a suicide hotline number, and a QR code to the website ministryfamilycare.ag.org. That site is the creation of the Mental Health Care Committee chaired by Jason Torville, with incredible Assembly of God Spirit-filled counselors as members. The site contains getaway opportunities for ministers, counselors in your state or by telehealth access, self-help resources, and more. The counselors on this committee continuously write for Influence Magazine and Called to Serve, which is mailed out free to ministers. I encourage you to stop by the Mental Health Care booth, number 1153, in the exhibit hall this week and meet some of those great people. A renewed interest in healthy local church bylaws has recently surfaced. I want to remind you that the General Presbytery approved menu-driven recommended bylaws for the local General Council church, and they're available online at ag.org. These templates can help advance a DA church to a GC status. These templates can help a local General Council church refresh and update their bylaws, and then provide a copy to your local district. Some of the most frequent problems in the local church could be eliminated by following these steps in the local church. Number 1, retain insurance policies forever. Number 2, practice child safety policies that your board adopts and enforces. Number 3, see that every AG church has credentialed pastors. Next, encourage every minister to work toward the next level of credentials. And then finally, help every church disciple and raise up healthy, informed board members. In closing, I'd like to publicly thank My team, Brad Kessler, assistant to the General Secretary, who has just written a new book on ethics that's about to be released and has just become a mandatory required course for people even transferring in or experiencing life experience. I'd like to thank Natalie Stewart, our Secretariat Manager, Carlene Clare, my Executive Administrative Assistant, and Linda Etheridge, our Content Specialist. I have the honor to also be the liaison to the ELT for Darren Rogers, Flower Pentecostal Heritage Center, Melissa Alfaro, Chair of Network of Women Ministers, Dennis Rivera, the Director of Hispanic Relations and Ethnic Fellowship, George Paul Wood, AG Publications, and Mike Clarensaw, Statistics, and our fantastic legal team headed by Legal Counsel for the General Counsel, Kristen Wagoner. Mr. Chairman, I respectfully submit this as my report.
Before I give this body an opportunity to express appreciation, there is one date, perhaps changed. There was an email that said 2010, and I believe it's 2019. At least we heard 2010, and I believe 2019, conferred with legal. So I just wanted that to be clear for the record.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Friends, would you express appreciation to Donna Barrett for this expression, for this report to you?